What's that? Yeah, so what happens is it'll go on to automatically go into power station. So if that happens, once you push that, it'll it actually even start again.
Shorty's trying to.
Jan, you might as well come over here. I'm going to be introducing you. Sorry. All you have to do is smile and wave. It's all good. Well, thank you all very, very much for being here today. I'm Attorney General Rob McKenna, and I'm here today to announce that we are suing Recontrust, a subsidiary of Bank of America, for conducting illegal foreclosures on thousands of Washington homeowners. Recontrust is what is known as a foreclosure trustee, and it's a wholly owned subsidiary of Bank of America. We're standing here today in front of a home that's been foreclosed. It's typical of thousands of homes that have been foreclosed across our state in recent times, and it's a home that Recontrust was responsible for foreclosing. With me today are several members of the Attorney General's Office Consumer Protection Team. Assistant Attorney General Jim Sugarman, who is the lead on this case, and Investigator Jan Simons, who has looked at hundreds, if not thousands, of foreclosures in an effort to assist the people of this state. We also have attorneys from the Northwest Justice Project and private law firms whose clients have lost their homes to foreclosures by Recontrust. I'll be introducing them in a moment. But I want to take this moment to introduce two very special people who are here with us today who you'll be hearing from. We have Myra Cole, who's a single mom from Spanaway, who's right behind me. And we have Ruby Barras from Marysville. We're very grateful to you both for being here. Thank you, Myra. Thank you, Ruby, very, very much. Their homes were sold by Recontrust at the same time Bank of America was promising each of them they would receive a loan modification to give them a chance to stay in their home. And they've agreed to come here today to share their stories with all of us. First, let me tell you why this lawsuit is so important. We believe that Recontrust has failed to comply with Washington's Deed of Trust Act in each and every foreclosure it has conducted in our state since at least June of 2008. Recontrust has issued nearly 10,000 foreclosure notices since the beginning of 2008 in King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties alone, so that doesn't include the rest of the state. The company's illegal practices make it difficult, if not impossible, for borrowers who might have a shot at saving their homes to stop those foreclosures. On behalf of the people of our state, we've been outspoken about the problems of the foreclosure industry. But Recontrust repeatedly ignored our warnings and refused to provide information we requested during our investigation. Here are just some of the violations that we've identified. One of the essential requirements of the Deed of Trust statute is that a trustee maintain an office in the state where homeowners can go to ask questions, make last-minute payments, and request a foreclosure be postponed for a legitimate reason. But Recontrust doesn't have an office in Washington. Moreover, the company has failed to conduct foreclosures in a public place and instead has held them in private sites like a private office building parking garage. It's been handling documents improperly, which I'll detail more in a moment. And perhaps most troubling of all, it has failed to exercise its duty of good faith toward borrowers, deferring instead just to the lender in when deciding whether or not to postpone a foreclosure. So let me be clear about this. In Washington State, we don't have foreclosures in court, what's called a judicial foreclosure. Instead, we have foreclosure trustees. The role of the foreclosure trustee is to be in a neutral position between the borrower and the lender and to act fairly and in a balanced way towards both. Recontrust has not done that. Recontrust looks to the lender for direction and orders on what it's supposed to do, whether or not it's supposed to postpone a foreclosure, which might allow for a loan modification, or not. It's not only unfair, it's illegal for them not to take a balanced and objective position. Recontrust's claim that the company doesn't have to follow Washington law and Washington procedures because it is a subsidiary of a national bank is wrong. And that is why we are filing suit today in King County Superior Court. I also want to emphasize that this case is being brought individually by our office due to violations of Washington state law. We remain very much involved in the multi-state litigation involving foreclosure practices of all the large banks, I'm one of about 6 attorneys general who are leading those negotiations. And Bank of America is not a defendant in this suit. These concerns are with Recontrust, so we continue to move forward in our investigation and potential litigation against all the big banks. This lawsuit is against this company, Recontrust. So now I want to introduce Jim Sugarman, who's going to discuss our allegations in a little bit more detail, as well as a new law in the state it's designed to help protect homeowners, and additional efforts that are being made to protect homeowners as well. Jim Sugarman.
Thank you. One of the most important things that a foreclosure trustee can do is tell you who owns their loan. Every homeowner is entitled to know who the actual owner of the loan is, and Washington state law requires the trustee to tell you who the owner is. Recontrust has failed to do that. They've named a servicer, they've named an entity called MERS, but they don't tell you who owns it, and this hurts people when they're trying to stop the foreclosure. Additionally, I just want to emphasize that failing to have a local office, an office in the state of Washington, every other trustee has such an office, is going to stop people from saving their homes. You have 120 days to save your home, and if you don't have a local office, it's going to be very difficult to do so. The last thing I'd like to say is that we have recently been working very closely with the Northwest Justice Project and the Washington State Bar to create a resource for homeowners to save their homes. There is a Washington State, hold on one second, what do you call it?
The Home Foreclosure Legal Aid Project.
The Home Foreclosure Legal Aid Project is run by the Washington State Bar and Northwest Justice. And we strongly urge people who are in trouble to contact that organization. Additionally, there's a new law in Washington that allows you to ask for mediation. If you get to a housing counselor and ask them to ask for mediation, they can demand that of the bank. And then you'll have a chance to discuss your loan and to make sure that you have every opportunity to stop the foreclosure. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Myra and Ruby now, and I'd also like to acknowledge that Myra is represented by the Northwest Justice Project. We have 2 attorneys from NJP here. We have Rich Zonizer and Lisa Von Beulah. And Ruby is represented by Lean and O'Sullivan, and David Lean, her attorney, is with us today as well. So Myra, we'll start with you and then turn it over to Ruby.
So I was in the process of a modification with Bank of America, and I was told that I was in consideration of constant review, ongoing, until I was fast-tracked into a sale date of my home while I was still in it. This situation has caused great damage to me and my young son. It's very stressful trying to get to speak to someone. You speak to ongoing representatives on and on and on. There's representatives, you never speak to the same person, and it's been quite difficult. But I'm excited to know that there's maybe justice for us, and I have wonderful lawyers to assist me in getting this taken care of. My house has been foreclosed on. I was told that we were in an active modification, and they foreclosed as I was in the home. So I actually stayed in the home as I was looking for justice. It's not fair, it's an injustice, as I was in active modification. I'm told constantly, and it sold up under my son and I's feet. It's horrible.
Would that modification have allowed you to stay in the home? How much would you have ended up saving?
The modification would have, yes, it would have helped me stay in the home. I don't know what the workout would have been, as it was never an option. We were just told I was in active modification, and for almost 3 months, the receiving documents continue on the whole surface, and then you're told at the end the home is sold.
A lot of time for more